เ โ All right, so here's the deck profile. So originally I was playing Skill Drain with hand traps, and it didn't seem that great because they were not as impactful. Having a Veiler, having an Imperm, having an Ash with Skill Drain seemed very weird. It just didn't seem like it was impactful enough, because this is meant to nullify everything, every single push, right? But if you can hold an interaction to a particular point where it can be an insane blowout, then I would rather go with that, right? Especially because of the cards I picked. For sure, Torrent's Tribute, Daruma, and IDP. This one is a bit more specific in when you can time it properly, but it's such a blowout because of the synergy it has with Crimson Gaia, right? Because the moment you, for whatever reason, your board gets cracked, you would have sequenced out an RDA in the graveyard. So you're going to be able to revive that, which is huge. And if you have Crimson Gaia, that means you'll retain tempo control the following turn because of Skill Drain being face up. You just destroyed their board, you revive your RDA, and then now you're going to be able to search your Golem or your Red Zone. And then after you've simplified the game state, you're basically playing old school Yugioh, who has a bigger monster on the field, right? And you control it with Red Zone, pop a card every single turn, and then reborn your other RDA and just keep applying pressure. That was the original concept, just by that, and why I decided to play Torrent Tribute. But do you see how having trap cards compared to a hand trap would be a lot more beneficial when you take this type of approach? And it seemed fine, and it was like doing really well. And then Daruma's one of those insane cards. Just book everything face down. And why do you want everything to be face down? Because Gaia does something similar. Because of this guy. RDA, the OG RDA, could just destroy an entire board as long as they're in defense position. So they can do that with an engine, but if you don't, then you can do it with this. So let's say they try to go for a push, you Daruma them, put everything face down, you get to an RDA, go battle phase attack, destroy everything. Like, that's huge. And then if it's links, they can't go face down, so they go to the graveyard. So that's pretty insane as well. And then of course, there's a few neat things you can do with it where you have the Skill Drain, right? You have Skill Drain where you, one of the games showcased it, where you go into hot red, they tried to duster me, I think, and then I go negate, chain Daruma, and I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. It's being able to dodge things as well. The main application is to like, be able to have a trap that can be used at any given time, but also be proactive to what you're trying to do, right? Like you summon this effect, chain, and get access to your bone, and then you just do things like that, which come up a lot more often than you would think. And of course, IDP, this used to be Strike, but then I ended up changing it because Strike and this was a bit odd. It was too cost dependent. It was just a bit too much. And there were times where I would decide whether I wanted to Strike or Skill Drain, and I was like, well, if this just negates everything already, might as well have something else in its place. A lot of redundancies kept occurring, so I ended up swapping it for IDP because this one is pretty good right now against Tenpai, Fire King, Snake Eye. There's a few applications for this card, so the main reason is because it can be used at any given time. Since you want to dig for this, originally I was not playing Pot of Prosperity, but I started to notice some consistency issues where I didn't get to see this, and just adding this just made a lot of sense. It turns on your Dispatter, which is huge, which is another pop. It gets you to anything you would want, right? Especially post game one, you get to your side deck, which is huge, as you saw in the replays. Getting you to tactics if you want to sleep a card, and then you have, if you look at their hand and what they're playing, and you can pick it apart and anticipate what they're trying to do, you can interact in a certain way, which is a big difference. It's huge. And just being able to steal cards as well, it's nice. Going second, primarily it's meant to help you dig deeper into your deck, right? Of course, you can't do it with these two, like, because these conflicts you can't draw. But going second, being able to take monsters like he did, like saw in the Despia matchup, was huge. I took his fusion and he couldn't use grave effects, which is insane. And it's pretty cool. It's just good at all. It's just good. The fact that you can like hand trap and draw more traps, right? Because they went minus, and then you get impactful traps. That's huge. And then they just buy you another turn, which is amazing. But the main reason I actually want to play this deck is because of this card. This card is insane. This is the only reason you're allowed to play this type of style, because it's very mid-rangey. Because typically, if let's say this wasn't in the deck, right? If that wasn't in the deck, you'd be top decking almost every single time. But the fact that you have established this card and it's there turn after turn, you're guaranteed to search every single turn, right? And that was for the consistency of the deck. It's insane. It's just amazing for what it does. Being able to search your tuners, your traps. It's so versatile. Being able to search. This is, and the fact that you can search the Golem is insane. It's just insane. And just its recurability of what it does. This card is like one of the best cards of the deck for sure, if not the best card of the deck. Otherwise, I just wouldn't play this deck if this card wasn't out. And this is a bit odd. Originally, I was playing just one crime, but I figured that the times you want to see this is when this gets interacted, because this is probably the weakest link of the deck. This getting negated, unless you open a bone, then it's not the worst. But like, if your only access to bone is through this, you're hoping it don't stop this. So why not increase the chances of pairing this guy with bone or pairing this guy now with this one, because that gets you to your hot red and gets you to red rain, which is huge, right? So like the interact here, it no longer becomes a choke point, because now you have another card to pair with it. If you open it with bone, it doesn't affect you. It's fine. You do full combo anyways. If you pair it with this, you won't do full combo, but it's still an insane setup, right? Because it's just 2 cards. You'll gain access to red rain, so you're not really necking there. You're getting everything back, right? Because 2 cards to summon this and this, you're neutral there, right? And then you have your other traps that you can set, which is insane. So I wanted to ensure that I had access to this in case that did happen, because seeing that one, that won't really happen. You can search it, but primarily you want this as a contingency. These 2 cards to be as a contingency, and it worked quite well. Then of course 2 vision. Typically in the past I played them at 3, but I think 2 is fine. Same thing with Crimson Resonator. Originally this was always played like 2 or 3, but now it's just, you don't have to resolve this to get things going. All you really want to do is get to Scarred and get the RDA into the graveyard on the field, and that should be sufficient. If you do resolve this, that's a bonus. It's the fact that you can do something like this, so that's why it's in here, but you don't necessarily have to resolve it. And then 1 Synchro Resonator. Imagine if this was a Synchro, like a Synchro card, that'd be insane. Fool's Burial gets you access to bone, because you need to have as much access to bone as possible, because you need to be able to shut this off. Otherwise, you're gonna be locked on your own thing. But it's not the worst. As you saw in some of the replays, it's not the worst. You can hold them off of your traps till you get to this, which is why Prosperity is so important. Because if you're locked under your skill drain, you can get to this, right? You simplify the game state, you nuke the board, and then you go Prosperity, dig for this, send this, and then... So this is a bit of a debate. So whatever variant of RDA you play, some people just don't play this one or this one. But I like this because of the attrition it gives you. Because it gives, of course, typically you would be like, oh, why wouldn't you just play hand trap instead? But I understand that a hand trap is, of course, it's more superior in the sense of how it interacts turn 0 or just whenever you go second. But the fact of being able to resolve this and then have something for the following turn, you're accumulating setup, which is huge, right, for an attrition style deck. Whereas the hand trap is like, you interact, yes, but the style of deck that I wanted to construct was be really mid-rangey and very like grind it out and get to the point where you get to play every single game and gradually try to get in control of the game, right? It's not like, oh, do I have combo? No, okay, I lose. And that's why I really like this, because the moment you get access to Gaia, you get access to RDA, the fact that you get access to this, and it's cool because you can keep setting it turn after turn. Every time you resolve this and you have RDA, you can set it from either place, right? Because it sets from deck or grave, which is insane, which is why you only put 1 copy. And it's very nostalgic as well, than Rabbit Days. But that's the deck list. Hopefully it all makes sense, and try it out for yourself. It's already 4 cards, but it's fine. It should be fine. It's okay. Like, deck thin. The moment you resolve this, you deck thin. Like, you summon, you deck thin. Add this. This dumps this. This will summon this. So you're deck thinning already. So it's not like the worst thing in the world. But side deck is subjective. I just felt like this is okay. Going first, you put this against anything. I went in second. Break boards, and this, the extra deck, you can change. You can make a few changes if you want to. But for the most part, Prosperity. They're just there for Prosperity. That's gonna be it. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. Like, subscribe if you haven't, and thanks for watching.